Good afternoon to all our viewers. Now, it's no secret that our planet is facing a climate crisis. In late 2022, 4 years of extreme flooding in South Sudan left two-thirds of the country underwater, leading to more than 1 million people now facing severe food insecurity. We witnessed the devastating impacts of floods in Malawi, Mozambique and Madagascar. Entire villages were swept away, leaving behind only debris and devastated families. So why is the climate crisis so important, and why do we need to take care of our environment now? Will COP28 offer an opportunity to change that? Do stay with us for more of this conversation on One Slot. I am Rita Omodia. Thanks for staying with us in One Slot. Now, World Environment Day, observed on the 5th of June each year, reminds us of the urgent need to take collective action for the betterment of our environment. A reflection on the challenges we face and explore innovative ways to protect and sustain our natural resources as the world battles with the consequences of human-induced climate change, from rising temperatures and extreme weather events to changing rainfall patterns and sea level rise. This year, the theme of World Environment Day emphasized ecosystem restoration. It emphasizes the crucial role that healthy ecosystems play in providing us with clean air, fresh water, and a balanced climate. It also calls upon each of us to take responsibility and contribute to restoring our ecosystems for future generations. On today's edition of One Slot, we will be looking at several environmental issues such as climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, habitat destruction that is affecting Africa, and ways to restore her ecosystem. And joining us in this first half is Deji Akinpelu. He's a co-founder Rethinking Cities and is joining us from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much, Deji, for joining us on One Slot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I wonder if the rain affected you today, because it's been pouring all morning.
Well, it's been mild here. It's not so bad. It's not the scary type.
All right, definitely not the scary type from what we've seen so far. So let's get straight to conversations. We're looking at World Environment Day, which happened yesterday. Can you tell us what exactly is the significance of this? Because some people will say, why exactly should we commemorate World Environment Day? What exactly, or why is it important for individuals and communities to actively participate this World Environment Day?
Well, the opportunities that celebrating the World Environment Day gives to us is for us to be able to talk about those issues centered around the environment. So it's a great privilege for key stakeholders, communities, government agencies, legislators, lawmakers to come together and begin to assess whatever has been done. It's a privilege for environmental activists like myself to begin to highlight some of the key issues that we have advocated for to make happen. Definitely is not the occasion for, governments or bodies to just pay lip service to talking about the things that they have done for the environment, but it's just time for us to look at advocacy. What are the things that has been the front burner? What are the laws that we should be making? What should we be implementing? What should we be talking about? Where are we behind? What are we supposed to be doing? So that's what the day provides us the opportunity of talking about.
Now, as an environmentalist that you've rightly mentioned, and that's why we're bringing you to this particular discussions, we've seen several challenges that Africa is facing. Can you highlight some of the key environmental challenges that Africa, and if you want to bring it down to Lagos or Nigeria, that we're facing presently?
African cities, there are quite a number of challenges that we are being faced with. We have the issues of deforestation, we have the issues of flooding, several issues emanating from climate change. Even the headsmen farmers' crisis that has taken so much. It's quite related, very, very related to climate change. When you have herders who are trying to get water to feed their animals and all of that, changing weather conditions and all of that has caused a whole lot of issues for us. Okay, technicals, how do you mitigate? How do you adopt technical know-how on what to be done? Climate change financing is another big issue. But one of the critical things for me as a person sitting in the city, talking from the city of Lagos, is looking around and begin to ask ourselves, what can we as a people begin to do to prevent some of these issues that we are faced with? Take, for instance, wetland protection. Wetland protection in the city of Lagos, for instance, remains a very big issue because of the pressure on the city to provide housing. Housing developments are just springing up here and there without no clear consideration for the environment. So you have people building on wetlands without any recourse to not thinking about the effect that it will have on the environment. The World Environment Day this year also speaks largely to the issues of plastic pollution. I sit here also again from the city of Lagos and like, what are we doing about our plastic policy? Why is it taking us so long to get polluters to pay for the plastic that they put in the environment? Why are we making it voluntary for them? Polluters should be made to pay for the plastic that they use that pollutes the environment. They have to embark on callbacks. It shouldn't be voluntary. It has to be by law, compelling them to act.
Okay, now before we go too deep on plastic pollution, I want to take your brains on this issue of deforestation you talked about. You also talked about building on wetlands, and it brings us to urbanization. As much as urbanization brings a lot of development to communities, we look at how this has affected our environment. So let's go deeper on that. What exactly are the consequences of all these things, deforestation, building on wetlands in our environment?
Oh, like you mentioned in your earlier report, changing weather patterns, flash floods, creating an imbalance in the ecosystem. The way God had created the earth in a very balanced form. There should be this amount of this, there should be these animals, there should be this forest here. That's the way God created the earth. But human activities and the quest for development, like you said, urbanization, housing. So we're doing things without considering tomorrow. So the effect is our changing weather patterns. You almost don't know when it's rainy season and when it's dry season again. When it's hot, it's extremely hot. When it rains heavily, and things have to move. So if you've embarked on deforestation, there are no trees to push back water, or there are no wetlands wetlands that act as natural gutters to keep the water and for it to flow. Immediately you remove all of that, your city will get flooded. I mean, Lagos, the big question about the city of Lagos is it true that Lagos is going to sink by 2050 as been projected, considering the mindless act of land allocation by government agencies, or even people building where they should not build. People who live in the coastal areas of Nigeria and indeed the entire West Africa always there's a whole lot of threat. Just even Ogun State, Lagos State border around here, all these axes, when the dam has to be released, I think the consequence is staring at us at the face, and we all know it. Maybe not everybody knows the name, you understand, but definitely the impact is being felt. There's pressure all the time when rain falls in the city of Lagos right now, because there are no proper drainages. There's no drainage master plan that is being followed effectively. People are building on wetlands, and they are doing it mindlessly. So we are indeed in for big disaster ahead if we don't begin to act now.
Now, Deji, talk about the consequences, but I'm wondering how we can balance it, because at the same time, also taking Lagos State, for example, we complain a lot of housing. You see some people, to get a house in Lagos is a problem. And we're seeing a situation where houses are being built, and unfortunately, it's also affecting the environment. So how do we balance all of this and still have social development in such areas?
You raised a big question, and that can take a whole a lot of time to answer, but I'll try to answer it quickly, because there are quite a number of strategies that you can adopt. So first of all, Lagos is living on this premise of housing is the best form of investment, which has created this artificial, expensive property market. So there's a mindset problem already about housing. Housing is not seen even by government as a social good. You have public officials who have mentioned and said government cannot build houses below market rate. Who said that? Why can't you build houses below market rate? It is possible. With creative funding, you can achieve that. Design is another thing. How are we designing our houses? Should the city begin to build upwards more? Design, mindsets. Some few days ago, we had stakeholders who came together and we were talking about the concept of mixed housing. Mixed housing is making sure that houses are built in such a way that you don't have a concentration of rich people in one area, but you have a mix. So deliberately making housing in areas, designated areas, you create in the same area, you create housing for different cadres of people, because we all need each other anyways. You know, some people tell you, mixed housing, how can the rich and the poor live together? But come on, your driver already lives with you. Your cook, your chef already lives with you. Deliberately implementing policies like mixed housing and to fight that artificial mindset of these overpriced properties and all of that. Yeah, and also going into research to find more sustainable ways of building, more environmentally conscious ways of building, and investing in those things and making them cheaper on the large scale. So from mindset to policy to design, all this can be solved. We can't continue the way we are going, where everybody is just trying to join the 1% of the 1%. Everybody can't live in Banana Island. It's not possible. We have to create a city that is inclusive, that is balanced.
Now, quickly, I don't want to drag on this, but at the same time, we'll also look at the government's efforts to do all of this. If you look at the plan in the house planning in Lagos State, will you think that the Lagos State is drafting towards that particular position, or we're not actually looking at that?
Lagos State.
Yes.
Okay, for Lagos State, so it is written on paper, according to the Lagos State Development Plan 2023 to 2050, clearly mentioned there is the concept of mixed housing. But the initiatives are not very assertive in terms of how it is going to be implemented. It's a bit scary. Is it just something on paper or something that the government is deliberate about implementing? Is it just a copy and paste from research works? Because the concept of mixed housing has been on the table by the academia for a very long time in the city of Lagos. So we really need government to come out and say, okay, we are committed to this. Can we have an executive order by the state governor saying mixed housing concept is something that we are going to embrace? It's on paper, but are you deliberate about it? Wetland, during the elections, wetland issues came up that, Lagos State has a wetland policy. But is it a policy that is in practice? You can say, there's the agency LASPAC that is in charge of wetland protection, and the other housing unit or the Surveyor General's office is giving housing to people on Greenland. So there's policy, there's paper, but action, what is being done in practice? There's policy, there's practice. So we need to see more deliberate action towards practice, even beyond written written documents.
Now, still looking at best practices and how to take care of our environment, another issue that has been coming to my mind is the issue of waste disposal. I remember there was a time that there was this mantra of keep Lagos clean, putting waste baskets around so that people do not necessarily dispose their waste indiscriminately. But looking at Lagos State again, because this is where we are presently, how would you say that the issue of waste disposal has been treated? You know, when you talked about housing, you said it's just on paper, but in action, we're not necessarily or deliberately moving towards sustainable development. In terms of waste disposal, let's look at the effects of it and how well or what are the processes to actually curb all of this?
Yeah, I'll give kudos to Loma for several of the initiatives that have been coming out, although we've had initiatives upon initiatives from purple bag to blue bag, several initiatives that the agency has come up with at different times. But one thing I've always said, and my organization stands by, is the integration of the informal waste pickers in the city of Lagos is very, very key. They are the ones who are doing the bulk of the job. We have several social enterprises that are into plastic waste picking, for instance. But the guys who do the large chunk of the job are the informal waste pickers. And what we've said is we have to speed up the integration of these people into this system. Instead of criminalizing them, semi-formalize them, give them uniform in your localities, because we pretty much need a whole lot of intervention in waste collection in several areas in the city of Lagos. There are lots of places that PSP trucks can't even get to. There are lots of places that their services are not being felt. So, but people, you have to plan with the people. You have to plan with the locals, particularly low-income areas. How do they want their waste to be picked? Do you need the big PSP trucks to come into their communities? Oh, do they have their own local solution? Yeah, they have their own local solution. How do you come in and work with them? Semi-formalize the system. How can the informal waste pickers work with the PSPs? Is one big discussion that we have been having. It is clear to all stakeholders that the real guys who are doing the work in the waste management value chain are the informal waste pickers. Those guys that you see on the road and all of that. The attitude has been to criminalize their activities. No, I create an identity system for them. It is very, 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 very possible. My own organization has built a website for verification of waste pickers in the city of Lagos. The government can do it. It is possible. You can pick up your mobile phone, you see a waste picker on the road, and okay, I want to confirm if you are genuinely a waste picker. We can set up a system like that. You don't have to criminalize their activities. So one key thing for waste collection in the city of Lagos is the incorporation of informal waste pickers into the system, into the operations of waste collection in the city of Lagos. And they have been very, very big in collection of recyclables. You can see how people go about now picking plastic bottles. And that's also the role of government, checking how can you help improve the cost of getting the right market value for plastic in the city of Lagos. Not that you have a cartel of some people determining price and changing price every day. And also compelling those plastic producers, those big companies, the big corporations who produce all these PET bottles. Let us put it into law, compelling them for every plastic bottle that you sell in the city of Lagos, you have to pay back. It cannot be voluntary. The association has to be made to pay back. Organizations that have not joined any PRO should join. The Lagos plastic policy should be activated. We've been dancing around one policy for the past 3 years. I mean, come on, we are complaining that there's no financing for waste collection in the city of Lagos. Whereas, in case you don't know, whenever you buy a bottle of soft drink, you pay both for the content and the container. You know, so the producer of that container should set up a system whereby that plastic is called back. by financing those who are in that business, you're going to do what? You're going to be able to call back the plastic in the system. The government shouldn't be going cap in hand and be doing. It's not CSR. No, extended producer responsibility is not CSR.
All right, now, Deji,
it is something that you must.
We've really had an extended conversation. We'll talk about deforestation, talking about being on wetlands, waste disposal. Another situation, I mean, over the years, recently we've been hearing of climate change, climate crisis, greenhouse gas emissions, and how, different African countries can move over to renewable energies. Let's go over to the rural areas. I mean, even though urbanization is happening and we're seeing lots of smoke, and you look at the buses, there's a lot of air pollution going on. How exactly do you think it's really feasible in Nigeria to move towards this renewable energies that has been so talked about to mitigate the climate crisis we're facing generally?
Renewable energy is doable in Africa. We have more than enough resources. We have the weather, we have the sun, we have all it takes to generate renewable energy. You just need a more deliberate effort by government. It's commendable. The Lagos state government allowing a stakeholder to come into the transport system, providing electronic buses. This space is something that we should begin to encourage. Of recent, I've tried taking data about the number of electronic cars in the city of Lagos. Is increasing. But as usual, I just hope that it's not everybody that's going to be a big player like the organization that was able to bring in electronic buses. But smaller players in that industry, in that renewable energy space, should be supported. Power generation, any state government that is quite serious should begin to look at these areas, and let us begin to call forth all those social enterprises who are into renewable energy. Have a sit down with those stakeholders and begin to say, okay, as a government.
Deji. Oh, unfortunately, that was Deji. Well, we're having discussions there talking about how Africa can actually move towards renewable energy. Over the years and over the months, we've been talking about, this greenhouse gas emissions, how it's affecting the climate, how we're having heavy rainfalls, severe weather conditions all over the world. And Africa, unfortunately, even though it contributes the least to greenhouse gas emissions, is still suffering the most. And that's why we're seeing severe droughts, floods going on. Unfortunately, Deji was not able to complete that conversation, but it's not over. Stay with us on One Slot. And when we come back from this break, we'll continue with how we can safeguard Africa's ecosystem and, of course, the climate change impact on Africa. Do stay with us.